Coaching sucks. Like, it's a lot of effort and it's way less pay than casting. Sorry to out you guys, but I kind of hate Dota talent, so I feel like I kind of abused the personal relationship to get the professional one going. Is it really hard to convince people to come to my restaurant? It's probably not. I don't think I'm not even the chef. I'm like maitre d', you know? I'm just like, welcome in, you know?
For our bonus chapter, we have none other than Blitz joining us. Hey Blitz, how you doing?
Hello, not bad. Just chilling.
Just chilling. Good to hear. I have to ask the question how you got here, because I remember you were the one trying to broker the team to join Team Liquid, from Alliance to Team Liquid.
Yeah.
But that was, I believe, supposed to be it. And now you're here 5 years later in the coaching seat. What happened?
I don't know. It started like, I think at ESL Katowice, like Aiden got into the same Uber as I did, and we were gonna go to the other hotel to go play Mafia or something like that. I was collecting players, because there was like two hotels, like one player hotel, one like talent hotel. And I was just collecting players to like play Mafia. And we got along really well, like instantly, like really just had a good conversation. And then kind of just like kept in touch. He was always really nice to me. And yeah, I just like went from there, helped broker the deal to Liquid, which I was just doing as a friend. Like, I was like, I like being that presence in the scene that's just kind of useful for people in general. Like, what do you need? How can we like set stuff up? And then I got sent, once we finished the deal, I didn't ask for anything in return, but Liquid was like, we'll send you over with the guys to the first boot camp, you know, just to go hang out in Malta. I'd never been. It's a weird place. So then after like a day or two of hanging out at the beach, I got really bored. There's nothing to do. And they were playing Dota, so I wanted to watch Dota. I'm sure, Brian, you do the same thing, right? It's like people are just playing Dota. Like, it's fun to watch. And I just started talking to them. They were like, oh, what do you notice about the games? And I don't really know too much about Dota. I was like, I don't know. I'll just bullshit some stuff. I think I was hungover the day that he asked or something like that. And then, yeah, and then him and Koikfa, actually Koikfa probably prodded me most about it. They're like, you should join as coach. And I remember the first day, I said no. I don't really want to, because coaching sucks. Like, it's a lot of effort and it's way less pay than casting. Sorry to out you guys, but and yeah, and then eventually, I don't know, by day 3, it kind of sounded like an okay idea, and it sounded kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it yourself that we remember you were still working at events with us as a talent.
Yeah, they weren't happy about that here.
Yeah, so like, I guess for you, you were kind of not all the way in, like you weren't fully committed at the very start, but I guess at what point did it seem like this was the next chapter of your life? Like, for you, knowing like, I want to be with this team for the long term, and I want this to be my career focus.
I think I told Aiden that I would do 2 years no matter what, and that was it. Like, it was done. I said I just can't. Like, financially, it was a poor decision at the time, and also I just felt like, and I still feel like this, that like coaching slowly kills me a little bit, because I have a lot of health issues because of like stress. And I can't do it, like, it's bad. And so I told him, like, you've got 2 years, and like, we better win something in that time. And then, yeah, I mean, he just, I remember at DreamHack Stockholm, you know, the Leipzig? Wait, no, It was Leipzig. It might have been Leipzig.
Yeah,
I don't know, one of the ones
before
that we
COVID.
had, one of the two of those. It was Leipzig for sure.
Yeah.
He was like, it makes me really sad that like, you only do 2 years. I was like, it is what it is. Like, let's see what happens before we, you know, like make a thing. And I don't know, I really just liked the guys. It felt like a very unique group. I know we weren't winning shit, but like, I had such a good time with them. The vibe was really good. I enjoyed coming to work every day. And I feel like that's kind of a rare thing, because I kind of hate Dota talent. So that part was like, it was super hard to show up to work.
Should we be hurt by this?
No, not you two. You guys, you know, you guys are cool. No, but like, I think it's super, because I was spoiled in talent work in that way too, because I felt like I really enjoyed everybody that I worked with. People were really positive. It was an easy atmosphere. You know what it's like. So, yeah, I don't know. At one point, it just kind of clicked, and I think it was like Mikke. Me and Mikke just get along way too well. Just from like, there's too many background things that we like connect on and stuff like that, and Aiden as well. And obviously, me and Boxi grew to get a lot closer. So then it just became kind of natural.
And COVID happened after the Leipzig major.
Yeah, unlucky.
Yeah, the year that you guys were 95 or even more percent guaranteed to make it to TI.
Yeah.
Is a year where TI didn't happen. How did that impact your thoughts on the career move and the path you were on?
I mean, that was probably last priority. First thing I was thinking about was it was a shame because we really wanted Boxi's mom to be able to play, like watch him play.
Yeah.
One last time at TI in Stockholm. That would have been really special. That was devastating. I thought about that for like that entire year pretty much. I don't know. I felt like because once we didn't qualify or like once we, you know, that happened and all that, it felt bad to quit at that point, right? It's like you can't leave. I don't know. I feel like you're kind of a loser if you quit when you're losing. It's like, obviously, a lot of people have different circumstances and all that, so I shouldn't say that. That's a general statement, but like, I would have felt like a loser if I quit at that point. I would have felt like a loser because like, I got these guys to Liquid. I promised Liquid this team, like that they would eventually have success and stuff like that, and I hadn't seen it yet, right? So then, it felt like for me, it would have been just too much damage to like my pride, and just, it would have felt bad.
Did you feel responsible for them getting success for Liquid?
No, I didn't feel like, because obviously that implies that like I have a lot to do with it. I don't, but in a way, yes, because me and Victor are really close. I really like who's the boss of Liquid, and I felt kind of responsible in that way. It's like I sold you this idea and it's not working, so that felt kind of bad for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking at that point, you end up hiring another coach, right? You were the first team to get a second coach with Jabs, and I was wondering, like, we heard all about the behind the scenes of like Boxi and Insania beefing and you kind of having to be the mediator there. Like, was that something where you needed to kind of offload some of the responsibilities for yourself on the team because there were more than you bargained for, like initially, or what was your thought going into having another coach on the team?
I know I always wanted more people to work with because I think that it's just a good idea. I think a lot of teams that don't have a second coach are kind of hamstringing themselves or being a bit silly and not hiring more staff. I think hiring the right person is really important. At the time, once COVID happened, I really got into Counter-Strike and I needed people to play with because it's like, it's way more fun when you play with the stack. CS is like a terrible game to play by yourself and I'm not very good. So then the stack was like me, Artur, this guy named Josh, one more guy, and Jabs. Like Jabs happened to be on my friends list playing Dota, and I was like, "Do you have CS?" Like, you know, when you're desperate for something, I'm like, "It's CS:GO." Like, and he was like, "Yeah, sure, you know, I'll play." And then we started playing like every day. We must have been playing like, you know, it was like on clockwork because it's COVID. You have nothing to do. There's nothing to practice for. So it's like we're not really sure what's going on. So it's like hop on, and he's just like, "Sure." And then eventually, I just offered him the job. Like it came out of nowhere. I was like, "You want to coach?" She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, I don't know. I think it'd work out okay. And that's usually how I hire people. Like when I originally hired Heen, he had asked me advice actually about casting. Because he wanted to get into casting. I was like, screw that nonsense. Like, come coach with me at Team Liquid. So I always knew that I wanted to work with one other person. And then hiring Jabs just felt like a natural evolution of that. Because I just hire people based on vibes. Like I don't care what you know about Dota actually. I think it's completely irrelevant. Like we can teach you the stuff that you don't know and that you need to know. And what matters is like, are you good to be around? Like, what's your attitude? You know, like what kind of vibe do you bring to the team? Because I can't share that load. Like you said, you know, when I was trying to fix like the Aiden stuff, I have 5 people. It's impossible to focus on 5 people at once. Anybody that says they can do that like perfectly is lying to themselves. Or they're just way better at the job than I am, which I can perfectly accept too. So I just felt like it was way easier to have one other person to like offload that in that regard. And he was way smarter at Dota than I am, so it was kind of like 1 + 1.
I'm sure there's like a long story to this possibly, but what is the vibe? If you could describe Jabs' vibe, like you said, you hired him based on vibe. Like, is it a good team player kind of vibe? Is it like hardworking kind of vibe? What like character trait are you looking for?
He's just fun to be around. Like he's a good person and he's fun to be around. I'm usually pretty good at guessing whether or not like you're a decent person, you know, and he just like, he felt like he needed something to do. He was a good guy. Like I liked being around him, and that's usually enough for me to like work with somebody. I don't know, you know, when like you just like hanging out with somebody, you're like, oh, their presence is like nice in my life, it enriches it. Then, you know, you should usually hang on to those kinds of people. And I was like, oh, it'd be good to work with him in some kind of capacity. And obviously it's gone really well. Super happy with Jabs. Couldn't imagine doing this job without him.
Yeah, it's working really well, and you have had a good knack of finding people for the correct people for the correct jobs. As I do want to talk a little bit about the year that there was a TI, and it was the one that you guys didn't qualify for, and there were changes made to the team afterwards, with Koikfa and Tommy out, and Matu and Zai in.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So truth be told, we had been talking to Zai for quite some time. Like I think about maybe the year before COVID happened, we had approached him and he had said like, I'm interested. And then Tommy had said that he was interested in leaving and trying for a different region. So it's kind of like 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
So that at the time, the other aspect of that was that we were going to grab Nisha, which didn't end up happening for various contractual reasons. But Zai was like free to go. You know, his contract had just run out, so timing was kind of perfect. Me and Zai have known each other. I feel like I kind of abused the personal relationship to get the professional one going. But I was like, it'd be really fun to work with you. I mean, it was my dream to work with him. There was like 3 people I really wanted to work with again, or like hadn't worked with, and that was Zai. I really wanted to work with Matu again, and I really wanted at some point to work with Artur. That was like my dream, you know, if I could get my really good friends in, you know, and then Zai kind of felt like a natural thing. We weren't really even sure what role he'd play, you know, at the time when we grabbed him. I remember right after they lost TI, maybe like 4 hours after, I sent him the text, you know, because I was like, hey man, sorry you lost, but like, would you mind coming to my room and just hanging out and talking it out? He's like, yeah, you know, run it. So then he comes over to the room. I have a chat with him. I was like, I'm really bad at timing because I probably should have waited, but you know, I'm impatient. So
Or really
like,
good.
Yeah. So then I was like, how is it now? Do you feel like leaving still? And he was like, yeah, I think so. And he's like, it's probably better for my team if I let them know like immediately. So like, let's get this done. You know, so then I already had the offer on the table, numbers, everything was worked out. It was just like, here you go. He signed, great. I brought in Aiden because he was working his talent there, had like a 3-hour conversation, and then we were just like, bing, bang, bosh. At the time, we weren't really sure about Nisha. He had kind of expressed that like maybe he was in some weird limbo about whether or not he wanted to continue playing Dota or something like that. I don't know. So then, I asked Zai, are you cool with playing with Koikfa? Which he was like, yeah, super fine with playing with Max. But then the Matu opportunity came up. I think at that point we were pretty committed to playing with Koikfa, and then Matu just messaged me out of the blue and said like, I want to also join. And at the time, I think we were also still waiting on what would happen with Nisha. Matu said, I don't care what's happening with Nisha, but you have the end of today, and it's like, it's now or never, or I'm just gone. I'm retired. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm dead serious. Either you sign me like right now, or it's like, we're just not doing this. I don't know if he told you guys that.
He did not
tell us that.
That's actually how it went. So then I had to have a meeting with John and Victor, my bosses, and I was like, yeah, it's Matu.
You gotta.
Yeah, and I told Koikfa, which was kind of sad. It was a rough conversation, but he ended up being our streamer, and we're still friends. We talk all the time. We just talked about watching The Bear recently, so it's like...
I mean, Max did say that, like, we asked him how was his experience with parting ways with the roster and everything, and he said, like, got replaced by Matu. Like, what can you do? Top 3 player in the world. And he didn't give us all that context. Like, we didn't know it was a last-minute decision that he was originally intended to be on the team moving forward. I guess, like, so far from all the other chapters and from what I'm hearing from you now, there seems to just be these, like, pivotal moments, these, like, individual, like, getting in the cab with Aiden, you know, playing CS with Jabs, you know, having this random conversation with Matu, and I guess just, would you say a lot of your career trajectory, not career trajectory, but like life pivotal moments have been like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just have like really cool serendipitous moments, just in general. Like, I just get lucky a lot to be surrounded by really nice people, and I don't know, it's just like worked out for me in a lot of like nice ways. Like even when I was casting, you know, I just randomly, me and Cap became friends, and then it was really easy. Or like, I didn't like paneling at first, and then, you know, Shiver and I were friends beforehand, and it became really easy. Like, I ran into you in some like US West pub like 8 years ago or something like that when we were both trying to be pros. Like, just random like serendipitous moments that just like add up. I ran into Purge in like one of the first Dota pubs, and we ended up being roommates and living in Korea together. Like, none of this stuff is like, I'm not smart enough to pre-plan my life in any way, so a lot of these things are just random dumb chance. You know, I got originally hired as a coach because I was watching an MDL game at 3 a.m. and back then you needed a Dota ticket, and Kuro was like, "Can I watch the game with you?" Because he was too cheap to buy his own like tickets. And then I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then we just started like typing, you know, on Steam chat about Dota, and then he just like randomly was like, "You want to coach?" I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So that's just how my life has been. It's really just random. It's not like some thought out thing. So yeah, I took inspiration from Kuro a lot, where he just took a chance on me off of nothing. So I felt like you can do that for other people, and it's been kind of cool.
Yeah, and then Zai and Matu are both on your team, and that's the 2-year marks, but you can't quit then because Zai and Matu just joined, right? That makes sense.
Yeah, I felt really weird because it's like Zai joined for me, so then, or not for me, but like, you know, to work together and stuff. So then it felt kind of weird to like
Yeah,
bail
you
on
can't
that
leave
moment.
then.
Yeah, and then Matu said it was his last year. So I was like, okay, we'll ride together into the sunset kind of thing.
It was quite the sunset though, because that led up to the international where you went through the lower bracket, or rather first last chance qualifiers. Like if you're saying that you've had, you know, the stress is not good for your health, I think this year probably was the worst. The last chance qualifiers into lower bracket run into third place at the international 2022. How was that for you, knowing that it was going to be Matu's last year, knowing that this might be, because I don't know how you were at that point in your career, because at that point you were already going on longer than what you intended for as well.
Yeah. I mean, that was a really weird year in general. The lead up to it, to TI, wasn't great. We weren't in like the best mental state. I'm really thankful that we had Jesse, because I don't think we could have gone anywhere near there. I couldn't have gone anywhere near where we did without him. I felt like Jerex was really pivotal. His vibes were impeccable. You know, he never really let us get down. I remember I felt really weird because if we had missed that TI, it would have been the first that Zai and Matu had ever missed in their careers. And I would have been the coach, like, you know, obviously things don't work like one-to-one correlation, but like it would have been me that was responsible for that, or that's how it would have been viewed, right? Like I had ruined their careers, and I would have felt that. I remember Zai was being kind of toxic in scrims, like in the lead up to TI, and Matu was like, "You need to talk to him, you know, and like really get his head right." I remember we went to the gym, just the two of us. I hadn't taken my phone. I remember this distinctly. My phone had died. I'm really bad at charging it. And I went to the gym with him. We're working out. I'm telling him like, you know, your attitude has to improve. And he's like, "How about our fucking play improves first?" And then my attitude it was really, you know, he was just mad.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation about it. He's just like, "I'm fucking scared to miss TI, you know, like it's fucking stressful." And I said, I get it, dude, but you know, it was a really awkward car ride back, by the way. We didn't have that conversation, the resolution conversation, until way later.
But you did have the resolution conversation.
Yeah, eventually, because we're friends, right? It's just like, it's fine. We've always been really good at separating it. So I think like the vibe in the team was nerves.
Yeah.
Because like nobody wants to miss that. And then when that last chance happened, my lord, my heart rate was like 1 billion a minute. Like it was bad all the way through. Jesse was luckily very calming and was just a great presence throughout. Him and Jabs are both like, you know, internally they were great. I don't know how they were, or like externally they were great. I don't know how they were internally, but at least they were way better about it than I was. I was super, like you can see I'm fidgeting and stuff because I'm remembering how anxious I was about that entire experience. Like my phone screen is cracked, and part of that is because we had lost a game to GG that we weren't supposed to lose at that TI, and I like threw it on the phone and I missed my suitcase and it just like hit the floor and it's just like shattered. I was like, ah. And I never replaced it because it's like a good reminder to not be that stupid, like never get that angry. So yeah, that TI was, man, that was not fun. I think I threw up like 3 times. Like it was bad.
Yeah, we heard from the team, I think it was Aiden, when you guys lost in the last chance qualifiers, game 1 versus Vici, I believe it was.
There was a Vici
He
game.
said that might have been the most despair he remembers, like the entire atmosphere of the team being. Like they were all super quiet going into game 2. Nobody really said anything.
Yeah,
and
we got stomped out, dude. It was bad.
And they said something like during game 2 after, like, I guess the lanes went well, that it felt like the entire momentum of the team kind of shifted towards a like, okay, we're back to playing Dota again normally. And then if the results kind of show that too, moving forward. I guess for you, it's like, I'm questioning as a coach, do you think that that's something special about this roster, specifically your time with Liquid, has been your guys' ability to come back from that I don't want to say toxicity, but like obviously nerves, emotions get high. Most teams don't recover from that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, up until that TI, we also didn't. We were really bad about it. I think, and I'm so thankful for people like I think we got really lucky with people like Lasse and Jesse, because I think, and Jabs, I think they brought in exactly what, the core of us needed to succeed. I don't think we'd be anywhere, we would have never won TI if we never had them on our team, because Matu really taught me, in the moment, leadership. Attitude reflects leadership. That's a quote from Remember the Titans. And I love it. It's my favorite quote. I always tell the team that, and Aiden always quotes it back to me when I'm like being negative on myself. And he's like, attitude reflects leadership. And I was like, you're right. And Matu really taught me, like, you can be upset, like in the moment, that's fine. But like when you go back to the team, it's, mind is a steel trap. Like they're not going to play better if you're stressed and you're upset. Because I would never be upset at the team, but I'd be upset just at the situation. But they can't tell the difference in that moment, right? And so it's important that, they really taught me, like, you got to, like, be better than this. Because there were moments, I remember, after the Thunder Awakened game 1, the one we lost with Mega Creeps.
Yep.
Matu, like, the other players went outside, further down, and Matu went to go to the bathroom. I waited for him outside the bathroom, and he just screams in the air for, like, 10 seconds straight. And then he's like, okay, I'm okay. He, like, he's really mad that we lost that game, and he's like, how did we throw this? Like, oh my God, my teammates are so bad. And then he was like, okay. And then, he walks around the corner and he was like, guys, it's all good. Like, we're going to get this shit done. And so I learned a lot from that experience, where he was always like, okay, privately you can have your moment where you can just be like, what the hell? But then like when you're with the guys, like it's all about keeping the momentum and, keeping the train going. Cause Matu got tilted a lot, but you would never know it if you were on the team. He was always like, even during the last chance run, he was always the first person to be like,
Let's
all
do
right,
it.
let's get it going. And same with Jesse and same with Jabs, and that really taught me how to lead, I guess, in that way. And so it's not like something we were just like good at. It was like something that we learned from the example of people that were just better at it than us.
As also having a little bit of a general manager role for Team Liquid in terms of getting the people on the team, how much pressure? At this point, of course, the lower bracket run and that TI 2022, you guys did end up getting for a third, and it was very successful on hindsight, but
Yeah.
It was obviously a long road to get there with one TI cancelled, one TI not qualified, and almost not qualifying even to that one. How much pressure did you feel, if any at all, from the Team Liquid organization?
I didn't feel any. I remember when we actually renegotiated the year after we didn't make it to TI, when we signed everybody. And I was just like, I talked to Victor about it and I said, what if we don't get Zai or Nisha? Like, what if we just run back the same 4 or 5 guys? And I remember distinctly, and I looked at the chat logs the other day so I could send it to him as like a full, I thought it was cool, like a full circle moment of like us getting to TI anyways. And I remember he told me, quote unquote, he said, if you really believe in these guys, I believe in you. And if you want to run back the same 4 or 5 people, we'll do it until the end of time. And that really was just like, come on, like what more support can you ask for? I thought that was another great learning experience from leadership, because when the person above you really feels like that, then you're going to feel amazing. You're going to feel really empowered. And so I wanted to be able to do the same for the guys. So yeah, in that regard, I felt zero. I think Victor and John and everybody at Liquid has always been very supportive. And that message meant the world to me in the moment, because it was the lowest I'd ever been. We just hadn't qualified. Just everything felt like terrible. We're renegotiating. I'm not even sure if they'll give me the budget to try and go get like a Zai or a Matu, because like, you sunk a bunch into a team for 2 years. You get nothing out of it. No TIs. Like, what are we doing here kind of thing. And so that felt really amazing. I remember at Arlington, Hotbit, who was working with us at the time, I went to the gym after we had just lost to Boom, to not make it to TI essentially. If we had won that one game, we would have made it. And I remember telling him, like, I'm such a failure. Like, this team, like, what am I doing here? Like, I just wasted Victor's money, because I felt bad. I felt personally responsible, because if a guy tells you, like, we'll run it with you as many times as you want, and you just keep coming up short, I feel like at that point I'm taking advantage of kindness and I'm just not delivering. So from the Liquid perspective, like, I didn't feel pressure from anybody in particular, but that made me feel even worse. That I was just like, it would have felt better in some ways if you just messaged me and he's like, you got to get this shit done. So, but all jokes aside, zero pressure.
I guess like that is rather inspirational to hear that from a higher up in this type of spot, to have somebody have so much faith in you. I guess like we were wondering when we were talking to the guys, and your guys are adding all the new players throughout these seasons. Like, first off, you get Zai and Matu after Secret did well at TI, and you guys didn't even qualify. Then you get Nisha after he just beat you at TI. I guess, like, where is all of this faith from people coming from? You know, like, is it something special about just the hierarchy of the way people treat each other at Team Liquid? Is it you being a wonderful salesman? Is it the vibes that you think is selling? Like, what makes people want to be here?
I don't know. I feel like Liquid is like a 3 Michelin star restaurant, and so it's like, is it really hard to convince people to come to my restaurant? It's probably not. I don't think I'm not even the chef. I'm like maitre d', you know. I'm just like, welcome in, you know. So I don't think I have to do anything in particular. I think I'm okay. I think I'm really good at leveraging my friendships into furthering my professional goals. So I think in that regard, I think helping, that probably helped a lot, just being friends with them beforehand. I think that they really believed in what we were trying to build here. I think Zai was the first person that saw the vision, which I'm internally grateful for. Obviously, we've attracted a lot of good players because of him. I think he was one of the first people outside of the team that I saw at the after party, and I think he was the first person I thanked outside of, you know, the roster and the org. I went up to him and I was like, hey, thank you so much. He was, I think, one of the first people I mentioned in the speech when we won TI, because it's so important, because people don't really realize like the work that goes into building a winning roster. It's not, you know, the work happened way beforehand, right? It's when people like Zai take a chance on you and they help you learn how to win, and they teach you these ideals and they teach you these concepts and stuff like that. You can't do it without people like that. So he was probably like the very first person that I reached out to, and I was just like, you know, thank you for making all of this happen. So yeah, and I don't know, I just felt like from there it became kind of easy to convince people, because once you have a guy like Zai, it's like, you know, everybody wants to play with Zai. So then Anisha or Matu, you know, piece of cake. And then once you have Anisha, everybody wants to play with Anisha, and so forth and so forth. So I don't really have to do anything too hard. And now we have, you know, people are smart enough to understand how good Mickey, Aiden, and Boxi are and how special they were. I've known that for 5 years, you know, how special they are as players. And it's so great that the world is like starting to see that, and other players are starting to see that too. So now it's just automatic. You know, now we get pick the litter, whoever we want, like, it's just like whoever we get at this point. So it's become pretty straightforward from there.
And when we talk about competitive years, obviously 2024 was the successful one, the one where the Aegis was had. But 2023 was, according to Aiden, his most successful one, is where you got a lot of second places.
Yeah.
And top 6 at TI is still not bad. How do you reflect on that year in particular, where you have also maybe gaming as the big nemesis in grand finals that you had to overcome?
That was interesting, just because I felt like that year taught us a lot about resilience. Because I think it's just as, obviously what they did is way more impressive. They won everything, but I think it's just as impressive to like mentally recover and be like, okay, it's time to do it again. And maybe you don't really believe in it, but you know, there's probably something deep down in there where you're just like, not these guys again. But I felt like it was kind of incredible that my team, you know, in the face of that adversity, just kept chugging. And I remember a few people messaged me and they're like, you're playing gaming L, you know, and I was like, what kind of loser ass attitude is that? Like, I felt like winning that TI against them was so poetic. You know, it was this like perfect encapsulation of everything, where everybody kept telling us like we were second best. We're missing this, that, and that. We'll never be successful with this roster. You can't win with a coach like Blitz, a carry like Mickey. You know, there's just like, it's so easy to just like find the holes when we're not winning at all. But I felt like being a second place team is not the worst thing in the world. It's not like you go to a silver medalist from the Olympics and be like, what a loser. And so I felt really weird about that, because everybody kept telling me like, you guys are losers. I was like, doesn't really feel like that. You know, I think our team is doing well. Nobody's quitting. I mean, that's when, like I said, I think that's when I would feel like losers, if we got another second place and then the next tournament my team was just like, I don't have it in me anymore. Like, I don't think it's possible. Like, I don't want to continue just keep running against this wall and not succeeding. That would have been like the worst thing to do in my opinion, but my team never did that. So it's like, how can I be that sad about that position? I think in a few interviews I always said like, I'm still proud of my team, I love them, and everybody like hates me for that and they get really upset that I say that, but like, I mean it still to this day. It's like, they didn't give up. So like, why would I be mad at them? You know, like, of course I'm still going to love them after the games. Like, what can you do? Like, they tried their best.
Yeah, I mean, I guess going into the year that you did win TI, it seems like it was a bit of a rocky start, obviously with the results, and also hearing from the players like the clashing play styles between Netta and the rest of them, and it felt like a very different voice captain for the team as opposed to Zai, who they basically summed up as like, he'll make it work. That's how their drafts and how it felt like that year was for you guys. So that's in line with what you said. So my question, I guess, from my end, it almost seems way more surprising you won the year you did as opposed to the year where you got all these seconds. I guess, like, what do you think happened differently? Like, was the journey throughout the year different? Like, we heard that people were kind of at each other's throats, the tournament just before TI at Lima. So, like, why this TI? You know, I guess it's a very generic or very general question, but.
I think, like, confidence actually peaked pretty high. I think Mickey told me before the tournament, he's like, my hero pool's perfect. If we don't win this TI, like, we're never going to win a TI.
He said that.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, because I don't lie about any of these quotes. Like, you know, my story will always be corroborated. Yeah, he told me, he just came up to me and he's like, you can pick me anything. I remember he said, like, after one of the scrims, he DM'd me and he said, if, like, I will never lose with Wind Ranger. We did lose one game with Wind Ranger at the event, by the way. It was against Spirit. But, like, we ignore that one. We won every other game. So it's like, I think he told me, like, if I get NP or Wind Ranger, I won't lose a game. And that was kind of half true. I don't think we lost an NP game. But we lost, like, one Wind Ranger game. Come on. But, like, if a player has that much confidence like that, and Netta also was like, I've got, like, 6 or 7 heroes. And then Boxi, you know, it just starts to add up nicely. We found good adjustments. Aiden eventually learned how to play Clockwork, which was super clutch. Like, before it was just a Boxi thing. I don't know if they mentioned that.
No,
but, like,
not that hero in particular.
as a joke, I've been asking him to play it for a while, and he's always like, Boxy's really good at it, don't have to learn it. I don't actually know if that's what he said, but it's just. And then his clock was just, it was busting at TI, you know, it just absolutely cracked heads. So it's perfect. Like, everything just kind of lined up nicely. I think most teams that win TI, you know, I'm not so arrogant to say we're like a perfect team or like something clicked different. Like, the meta just hit us perfectly. That's usually how teams win TI. Whether or not people want to believe that, you know, and be like, ah, Spirit's such a cool team. I'm like, Collapse Magnus Mars. Like, come on, you know, those are like, it's been proven in history that those are his 2 best heroes at this point. Like, you know, the year they won TI, like, it kind of usually lines up nicely for your hero pool.
Now you won TI. It's been 5 years after you said it was going to be 2 years.
Yeah.
What's the plan? Because you reached the highest high. Did you feel like you reached the highest high?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good.
I mean, it felt like my life's work was like, it felt like it was a really validating moment. I remember, I don't know, it was such a rush of emotions. You know when they say, like, when you die, like, your life flashes before your eyes? I feel like the same thing happened when you reach your goal in life. Like, I felt like all the little moments, you know, like, watching the first TI when I was in college, going to, like, play qualifiers with Zephyr and, like, Purge and stuff like that. Like, all these little moments that, like, add up to where you are. You're just so thankful along the journey and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, you definitely feel like you reached the peak. Now, I don't know. I stopped thinking so much about when I'd quit. Because if you just keep thinking about that moment, I sort of feel like you're doing a disservice to the time that you currently have. That's, like, one of the lessons that I learned, is if I keep thinking about what comes next and what comes after, I'm not really appreciating and enjoying what I have right this second. It's kind of like, you know, when you're a kid, you don't appreciate how good you have it because you're just always waiting for, like, the summer to hit, right? And then summer ends and you're just waiting for the next summer. And, you know, as an adult, you're like, I wish I could have appreciated those moments before I had to pay taxes and shit, like, where I could just go back in time and just, like, life is a lot simpler. You're just social dynamics and politics and just, like, trying to get by. And so now I'm not so focused so much on, like, what comes next and just trying to enjoy the little things that I have right now and then see, you know, where it takes us. Because I want to do this job for as long as I can. I really love those guys. There will be a time, and it's going to be really sad when, like, we'll all have to hang it up together. And that'll be, like, the worst thing, you know, that'll be, it'll be devastating for me. And so rather than trying to worry about, like, when that'll happen, I just want to enjoy it while I can.
It almost seems like your post meeting your goals, your life goals vibe is that, you know, I've always heard that something along the lines of the quote, you don't know you're in the moment until later, you know,
Yeah.
like until you're looking back on it. But it sounds like you guys are kind of just in the moment, joining the journey together.
Yeah.
Would you say that's true?
No, absolutely. Winning TI was great, and it was validating, but at the same time, I would have said, like, I had a really successful time here because I got to meet a lot of great people. I got to do it with some of the people I love the most in the world. You know, just like the journey from like everything that we had to go through, how much people sacrificed along the way to get here. It just felt, you know, profoundly great. To even get to finals is such a great journey. Not a lot of people in Dota will ever get to play in a grand finals for anything major, whether it be like TI or any of the majors. You know, we made 3 major finals. Like I've been a part of like 6 Valve major finals or something like that. That must be close to a record at this point, right? With the old Kuro squad, I was in 2 of the original ones, 3 with these guys, a TI finals. So even then, I think I would have felt pretty blessed all around. Even though TI like wraps it up nicely, like that wasn't the point of it, I guess. And that's why like I'm still really motivated, because it wasn't like if we won TI or lost TI, I wouldn't have enjoyed my time here. So like, who cares so much? So now it's just like keep winning.
Keep winning. So it sounds like some good moments, good words to end on there. Well, any final words to all the people that also have been not just, I'm going to ask it, not just watch TI with you, obviously with the fantastic speech that you did there as well, but I've been following you from the Zephyr days and even before that, because I know there's people that have been following along for that long.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I think, you know, whenever somebody, I don't know how people feel when they like DM me or something like that, that I don't care, but I always try and respond to like any of the emails and stuff that I get. Because I think it's important that people understand too that like, somebody once told me like, you don't really know the impact you have on anybody's life. You know, at the end of the day, it's kind of impossible to judge like when a nice message will go a long way. And so anybody who's ever said anything kind about us or like kept us going, it's like, you know, a raindrop doesn't know that it's responsible for a tsunami. Like, I don't know if I could have done it without so many people being so supportive along the way. Obviously, we had our share of people that didn't like us, but they were so heavily outweighed by people that rooted for our success. So thank you for anybody that even ever had good thoughts about us or came out to watch us play. Thank you.
Right. Thank you as well.
Yes,
And
thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for joining us on this bonus chapter.